Funspot has a rather impressive coaster collection among its 3 locations. For now. Each park is a standout ride, and one of these might even be one of the best in the world. Let's break it down from worst to best, starting with 2 Sea Serpents. These 2 are the same 11.5 foot single helix model from E&F Myler. I've decided to put the one at Spot Kissimmee lower because the park was more crowded, which led to more disapproving stares from concerned parents. This only slightly edges out the ride ops laughing at me as I rode the one at Atlanta by myself. Number 8 is Hurricane at Funspot Atlanta. This may be surprising to some, as this one seems to be talked about as a sleeper ride with surprising forces. I just hurt myself every time I get on this one. Mind you, I'm 6'2", so lots of coasters with smaller cars are a bit of a squeeze. Half the track is covered in rust, and the structure genuinely looks and feels like it could fall apart. I heard there were people waiting an hour to get this credit recently. Sorry you had to go through that. Number 7 is the Sea Serpent Kiddie Coaster at Funspot Orlando. This one was less jerky and had some fun mini airtime hills. Also, the ride op held back from laughing at me and simply did a sarcastic applause as I deboarded the train. We take our small wins where we can. Number 6 is Freedom Flyer at Funspot Orlando. It's worth mentioning that this might have had the most consistent line out of all the Funspot rides. The coaster has a great lap bar and is butter smooth. There aren't many forces, but the final helix was a little more intense than I was anticipating. It's also 95 degrees outside and I was dehydrated, so who knows if it was actually intense. Number 5 is Hurricane at Funspot Kissimmee. Like Hurricane at Atlanta, this ride is terrifying. The difference with this one is that the turns are a little more drawn out. This allows me to avoid bruising myself when I inevitably slam into the restraint. This ride actually had some surprisingly sharp janky airtime and some wonderful drops. The pain was worth it on this one. Number 4 will probably surprise most, but it's actually Galaxy Spin at Funspot Kissimmee. I rode this as a kid at the now defunct Cypress Gardens and remembered enjoying it. I was excited to see how this ride would hold up to my rotted enthusiast brain. My body was not ready for what was about to happen. The first half of the ride is wholly uneventful, with the vehicle locked going straight like a standard Wow Mouse. Once the ride starts spinning halfway through though, it gets insane. I was sitting by myself on the end of the vehicle, which led to a massive discrepancy in weight distribution. Rate of rotation in my vehicle continuously increased as I finished the last half of the course. This insane rate of spinning coupled with the hairpin turns led to the most disorienting 30 seconds of my life. There's a sharp airtime hill towards the very end, and at the speed I was going, I essentially got a full 360-degree airtime pop. This might all sound like a joke, but I'm being dead serious. That moment's one of the most peak moments I've ever experienced on a roller coaster. If you're enjoying the video so far, I'd like to ask that you consider subscribing and leaving a like. We recently hit 1,000 subscribers, and now our goal is to hit 2,000 before Halloween. Your help would be greatly appreciated. Number 3 is a very polarizing coaster, one that I was a bit let down by. This is Mindblower at Funspot Kissimmee. This coaster is notable for being one of the only wooden coasters with an inversion. This ride is an incredible layout crafted by the renowned Gravity Group. Woodies from this manufacturer have some of the best layouts on the planet, but are notorious for their notable roughness when proper upkeep is not maintained. The roughness became bad enough that Funspot contracted RMC to install 208 retrack on parts of the ride. I never rode this before the retrack, but the transition out of the 208 felt like a car crash. I swear the track wasn't lined up well because it did not feel like the coaster was taking the later elements at the speed it should have been. If you can get over these glaring flaws though, you'll find Mindblower to be an awesome compact woodie with an amazing drop and inversion. I just pray this thing will either get a full Gravity Group retrack or a full Skill Track inversion sooner or later. Number 2 is a surprise for me. This is White Lightning at Funspot Orlando. This GCI coaster is on the shorter side, so I really was not expecting much. This thing packed a punch. The drop is only around 70 feet, but it has some decent whip, and the out and back layout serves up a buffet of airtime pops and good laterals in the turnaround. The Millennium Flyer trains are some of the best in the business, and unlike Mindblower, this coaster runs decently smooth. The coaster looks absolutely classic, providing a nice backdrop for the rest of the park. It's fortunate that Freedom Flyer nearby soaks up more riders, because it allows enthusiasts like us to marathon this not often talked about gem. Number 1 needs no introduction. Arieforce One is an RMC masterpiece that is rightfully seen as one of the best coasters on the planet. The announcement of this coaster baffled enthusiasts everywhere, as the park it was being built in was wholly unremarkable. Don't get me wrong, Funspot Atlanta has its charm, but it seemed odd to put in a full-scale RMC at this park rather than something like a Gravity Group family coaster. Regardless, the result was an absolute home run and proof that RMC could successfully produce an all-steel iBox coaster. The flow of this ride is superb, with each element breathing nicely into the next, and then choking you out at the end with the finale. The stall is superb, the arcade roll is superb, the outer bank is transcendent. The whole thing's just amazing. The only element that some consider a dud is the finale. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a tall guy, and as a result, my shins and thighs get absolutely brutalized during the bunny hops at the end of the ride. Barring that minor complaint though, this ride's markedly better than the other coasters in the funspot lineup. We're all praying it'll see a second life at a new home. Here's all the funspot coasters shown on a tier list to give a better overall picture. You'll notice that most of the coasters are in the lower tiers. This isn't bad for the kind of parks that the funspot parks are. The fact that good, bordering on great coasters like White Lightning and Mind Blower are at these parks is very impressive. The elephant in the room here is obviously Arieforce One standing on its own, far removed from the rest of the pack. In a way, it better illustrates just how jarring a coaster of this scale and quality is when compared to the rest of the lineup. Even without this RMC masterpiece, I think the rest of the lineup is heavily slept on. Well actually, the other two coasters at Atlanta kinda suck, so let's focus on the Orlando parks. The only thing I'd heard regarding these parks was that Mind Blower was rough, but had a great layout. I had no idea White Lightning had some actual forces, or that Galaxy Spin had the strongest spin in the game. I assumed Mind Blower was the only worthwhile coaster and everything else was just janky filler garbage. I live less than 2 hours from these parks and I've never been because I didn't think it would be worth the time. I urge anyone that visits the Orlando area to spare an hour trying out the funspot parks. I was pleasantly surprised by what was offered. If you made it this far, I'd like to once again ask that you consider subscribing. If you'd like to know where I think Arieforce One might end up, click on this video. Let me know which of these rides you've been on and what you thought of them. I'm dying to hear what everyone thinks of Mind Blower, because people are very split on that ride. I look forward to seeing you next time.